Hello students, welcome back to my channel. Today I am starting with a new video which is on the topic analytical chemistry. This is a topic from class 10 ICSE. This is the first lesson of this topic. So without wasting time, let's get started with the video. Now first and foremost, we need to know what is an analytical chemistry. Now, analytical chemistry deals with the experimental study or experimental methods which actually determine the chemical composition of the samples on two ways. How? First is the quantitative analysis and another is the qualitative analysis. So, again, I'm repeating, analytical chemistry deals with the experimental study, okay, which determines the chemical composition of samples. By what? By the qualitative analysis and by the quantitative analysis. Qualitative analysis means what? It includes the identification of unknown substance by certain chemical tests. Okay, here with the sample that is provided to us, any kind of sample, okay, the sample which will be provided to us, we need to identify that unknown substance or sample by chemical tests. Clear? This is the qualitative analysis. And what is quantitative analysis? Quantitative analysis means by this type of analysis, it provides the numerical information about that sample or about that unknown substance. Okay, that means by quantitative analysis, we will able to know about the amount or the concentration of that particular unknown substance or sample. Clear? So this is all about the analytical chemistry. Analytical chemistry basically deals with both the qualitative and quantitative means. Okay? Now, what do we mean by chemical tests? Chemical tests here means the use of sodium and ammonium hydroxide on the salt solutions. Suppose we are provided with a sample, a salt sample, okay, which is unknown to us. It is not known. So we need to identify what is that salt sample. So we will perform certain chemical tests with what? With sodium hydroxide and ammonium hydroxide. And after performing those tests, we will observe certain color change or there will be certain change in the solubility. Like there may be a formation of precipitate. Okay. So by observing those change in the color or change in the solubility or precipitate, we will be able to identify that particular salt sample which is unknown to us. In this way, we can perform chemical tests. And sodium hydroxide is a strong alkali that you already know. In the chapter acid, base and salt, I have already discussed it in detail. So sodium hydroxide is a strong alkali and ammonium hydroxide is a weak alkali. This is the contrasting characters between these two compounds. Okay, so I think this slide is clear. Now, here in this chapter, in analytical chemistry, we will deal with those elements. We will know about those elements which are colored, and we will also know about those elements which are not colored. Now, salts of transition elements. In my video on periodic table, I have told you about transition elements. Transition elements means those elements which belong to group 3 to 12. The elements which are present in periodic table from group 3 to 12, those elements are transition elements. Now the salts of these transition elements, they all are colored. Okay, we will know about the color, which element has what type of color, we will know about it. But you need to know that the salts of elements of group 3 to 12, that is the transition elements, they are generally colored. And the normal elements like those elements which are in group 1, 2 or from 13 to 17, that means apart from these transition elements, the salts of those elements, those normal elements, they are generally colorless. They don't have any color. See, these are certain colored cations and anions which are there in your syllabus. Like copper. Copper is blue or green, like bluish green in color. Chromium is green in color. Manganese is pink in color. Ferrous and then ferric. Ferrous is green in color. Ferric is brownish in color. Cobalt is pink or blue in color, and nickel is green in color. So you need to remember all these colored cations, okay? The color of all these cations, and there are two anions which are colored. One is permanganate, which is purple or pinkish purple in color, and another one is dichromate, which is orange in color. So these colored cations and anions are important, okay? You need to remember the colors of these cations and anions. Next, we will know about those cations and anions which are colorless. That means they are white. In chemistry, white, if a compound or a salt is white in color, that means we will consider it as colorless. In practical, we consider white as a color, right? But in chemistry, we will consider white as colorless. So, sodium, potassium, magnesium, calcium, barium, aluminium, lead, zinc, cadmium, ammonium, all these cations are colorless. And these anions like sulfate, sulfite, carbonate, chloride, bromide, bisulfate, bisulfite, bicarbonate, oxide, phosphate, nitrate, all these anions are white in color. That means they are colorless. All these cations and anions are colorless. Clear? You need to remember all these cations and anions, which cations and anions are colored and which cation and anions are colorless. You need to know that. Now we will move on those reactions with sodium hydroxide. That means we will take certain salt containing certain ions and we will react that salt with sodium hydroxide and we will see the observation. Okay, see. First is magnesium ion containing salt. Let's take magnesium chloride. Okay, let's take magnesium chloride as the example of magnesium containing salt. So MgCl2. Clear? We will react this MgCl2 with sodium hydroxide. I am writing balanced reactions. Okay. Now when magnesium chloride reacts with sodium hydroxide, then what happens? It forms sodium chloride and what? And it forms magnesium hydroxide. Now magnesium hydroxide is a precipitate. We will see a formation of precipitate. Magnesium, I have already told you, magnesium is a normal element. Okay, it's not a transition element. So it is colorless. It is white in color. Okay, it is white in color. And magnesium hydroxide is also white, but you need to mention it is dull white in color. Okay, you need to write it is dull white, not a bright white. It's a dull white in color. Okay, and precipitate means it is not soluble, right? Precipitate means this is not soluble. Magnesium hydroxide is not soluble in NaOH. That's why it forms a precipitate. And if you add excess NaOH, then also this magnesium hydroxide will be insoluble. Okay? Then also it will be insoluble. So you need to remember that when magnesium chloride reacts with sodium hydroxide, then it forms a dull white precipitate of magnesium hydroxide. And even if you add excess NaOH, sodium hydroxide, to this magnesium hydroxide, then it will still remain insoluble. It will not be soluble. Clear? I think it is clear. Okay? Okay. Now, let's move on to the next slide. Next example is of ferrous, Fe2+. Let's take ferrous sulfate. Okay? Ferrous sulfate. Ferrous sulfate, it is green in color. Ferrous sulfate is green in color. If you react ferrous sulfate with NaOH, sodium hydroxide, then what will you get? You will get sodium sulfate, Na2SO4, and ferrous hydroxide. Again, this is a PPT. It will form a PPT. And this PPT is dirty green in color. This PPT is dirty green in color. Okay? Ferrous sulfate is green in color and ferrous hydroxide is dirty green in color. Again this ferrous hydroxide in excess NaOH, it will be insoluble. Even if you add more NaOH, then also this ferrous hydroxide will still be insoluble. Still you will get dirty green precipitate. Okay, this you need to remember. Next is ferric. Okay, next is ferric. So let's take ferric chloride, FeCl3. Okay, and we will react it with NaOH. We will get NaCl. Okay, NaCl. And what will we get? We will get ferric hydroxide. Just like ferrous hydroxide, ferric hydroxide is also forms precipitate, but here it forms a reddish brown precipitate. Here it forms a reddish brown precipitate, and ferric chloride is brown in color. Clear? Ferric chloride is brown in color. Now, if you add more NaOH, that means in excess if you add, then it will still remain insoluble. That means if you add more NaOH to FeOH whole 3, it will still be insoluble. Next is copper. Okay. Now, we will take copper sulfate. We know that copper sulfate is blue in color. Okay. Now, we will react this with what? With NaOH. Clear? And we will get Na2SO4. And what? We will get copper hydroxide, which is again a PPT. It will form a precipitate, and the color is pale blue. Copper hydroxide is pale blue, and even if you add more NaOH to it, it will still remain insoluble. Even if you add more NaOH to it in excess, it will still remain insoluble. You will still get a PPT. Clear? So, till now, magnesium hydroxide, ferrous hydroxide, ferric hydroxide, copper hydroxide, all these 3-4 hydroxides remain insoluble even if you add excess sodium hydroxide to it. But if you take the example of zinc, okay, even if you take zinc sulfate, okay, it is white in color. Zinc is white in color. So if you take zinc sulfate and if you react it with sodium hydroxide, then what will you get? You will get sodium sulfate and what? Zinc hydroxide. Okay. Now, this zinc hydroxide, if you react this zinc hydroxide with NaOH, that means in excess, if you react this, then you will get sodium zincate plus water. You will get sodium zincate plus water. Okay. C. Zinc sulfate is white in color. When you react this with NaOH, you will get zinc hydroxide. Now this zinc hydroxide is gelatinous white in color. I'm writing this. This zinc hydroxide is gelatinous white in color. Okay. It is gelatinous white in color. And this is a PPT. When zinc hydroxide, again it reacts with NaOH in excess, then you will get sodium zincate. You will get sodium zincate. Okay. Na2ZNO2. Clear? That which is a colorless solution. That means what? This zinc sulfate, when you are reacting with NaOH, then you are getting zinc hydroxide. This zinc hydroxide, when it is reacting with excess NaOH, then that gelatinous white PPT becomes totally soluble in excess NaOH and you are getting sodium zincate, which is colorless solution. Clear? Okay. Now let's see another example with lead. Okay. Now lead nitrate, EbNO3 whole 2. This is white in color. When this reacts with sodium hydroxide, then it forms sodium nitrate and lead hydroxide. Okay. Now this lead hydroxide, it is chalky white precipitate. We will get a chalky white PPT, lead hydroxide. Clear? Now when this lead hydroxide reacts with excess NaOH, okay, then what will happen? We will get water and we will get sodium plumbite, Na2PbO2. We will get Na2PbO2, sodium plumbite. So when lead nitrate reacts with NaOH, then it forms a PPT, lead hydroxide, chalky white PPT. But this lead hydroxide, when this reacts with excess of NaOH, when we add NaOH in excess to lead hydroxide, then this chalky white PPT will become colorless solution. That means it will be totally soluble to excess NaOH and it will form sodium plumbite, Na2PbO2. Clear? So in this case, we have seen that only the zinc hydroxide and lead hydroxide are totally soluble in excess NaOH. But magnesium, ferrous, ferric and copper hydroxide, all these remain insoluble in excess NaOH. Clear? Now move on to reactions with ammonium hydroxide. Again, we will take similar type of examples. Like for magnesium, we will take magnesium chloride, MgCl2. Okay? I have already told you that it is white in color. So if we react this with NH4OH, that is ammonium hydroxide, then what we will get? We will get NH4Cl ammonium chloride and magnesium hydroxide. Okay. Now this magnesium hydroxide is a PPT. This is dull white. Again, I am not writing the same thing. I have already told you. But here, in the previous case, magnesium hydroxide was not soluble in excess NaOH. It was insoluble. In case of NH4OH, that means ammonium hydroxide, it is still insoluble in excess. It is still insoluble. Even if you add excess NH4OH to MgOH whole 2 magnesium hydroxide, still this dull white PPT remains insoluble. So from here we can conclude that magnesium hydroxide is insoluble in both excess ammonium hydroxide and sodium hydroxide. Okay. Now next is ferrous, FeSO4. I have already told you that FeSO4, it is green in color. If we react this with NH4OH, ammonium hydroxide, then we will get ammonium sulfate. And what we will get? We will get ferrous hydroxide, FeOH whole 2. This is a dirty green precipitate. right? But this static green precipitate is again insoluble in excess NH4OH. It is again insoluble in excess NH4OH. So just like magnesium hydroxide, ferrous hydroxide is again insoluble in both excess sodium hydroxide and ammonium hydroxide. Next is ferric chloride. Okay, ferric chloride, FeCl3, which is brown in color. If we add NH4OH to this ferric chloride, then we will get ammonium chloride NH4Cl and ferric hydroxide, which is again a PPT. It is a reddish brown precipitate. But again, in excess NH4OH, this ferric hydroxide is insoluble. This is insoluble. It will not be soluble. If we add excess NH4OH to ferric hydroxide, we will still get a reddish brown PPT. So magnesium hydroxide, ferrous hydroxide, ferric hydroxide, all these hydroxide are insoluble in excess NH4OH and NaOH. Next example is copper sulfate. Next example is copper sulfate. Okay, copper sulfate is blue in color. Okay, now we will react this with NH4OH. What we will get? We will get ammonium sulfate and what? We will get copper hydroxide. We know that copper hydroxide is pale blue in color. But here we have to know another. Till this much it is clear because I have already told you about this. Till copper hydroxide it is clear. It is pale blue precipitate. But this copper hydroxide, this PPT, okay, this when it reacts with excess NH4OH, we will take the product, okay, copper hydroxide and ammonium sulfate. When this reacts with NH4OH in excess, this is in excess, okay, then what we will get? We will get a deep blue or inky blue solution of what? Of tetraamine copper 2 sulfate. Tetraamine copper 2 sulfate. Okay, this is not a PPT. This is a deep blue or inky blue solution. This is a deep blue or inky blue solution. That means what? This copper hydroxide gets soluble in excess ammonium hydroxide and we will get tetraamine copper sulfate or copper 2 sulfate, which is a deep blue or inky blue solution. Clear? That means copper hydroxide is not, or copper hydroxide is insoluble in excess sodium hydroxide, but it is very much soluble in excess ammonium hydroxide. Clear? Now comes to the next, zinc. Okay, in case of zinc sulfate, what we will see, when zinc sulfate reacts with ammonium hydroxide, then it will form ammonium sulfate and what? Zinc hydroxide. This much you know. Previously I have told you zinc hydroxide is gelatinous white. Now previously we have seen that zinc hydroxide is soluble in excess sodium hydroxide. Here also we will see that this zinc hydroxide, okay, along with that ammonium sulfate, we will take the whole product, okay. This zinc hydroxide, if we react this with excess NH4OH, then what will happen? Then it will form water and tetraamine zinc sulfate. Tetraamine zinc sulfate. Okay. This tetraamine zinc sulfate is colorless solution. That means what? That means what? This zinc hydroxide, the zinc hydroxide is totally soluble in excess NH4OH. That's why it is forming a colorless solution of tetraamine zinc sulfate. So zinc hydroxide is soluble in both excess NaOH and NH4OH. Now last is lead nitrate, PbNO3(2). This is white in color. When we will react this with ammonium hydroxide, then we will get ammonium nitrate and what? Lead hydroxide. Now we know that lead hydroxide is chalky white in color, but this lead hydroxide is not soluble in excess NH4OH. In excess NH4OH, this lead hydroxide is insoluble. Clear? In case of NaOH, lead hydroxide was very much soluble in sodium hydroxide, in excess sodium hydroxide. But in case of ammonium hydroxide, lead hydroxide is insoluble in excess NH4OH. So these few things you need to remember: which hydroxide is insoluble in excess ammonium hydroxide or sodium hydroxide, and which hydroxide is soluble in which type of reactants. Okay, this much is very important. This much you have to remember. Clear? So all these reactions, this particular topic or chapter, analytical chemistry, is totally based on the reactions. So you need to remember all these reactions. Okay, so I think this topic is very much clear to you all. So even if you find any problem, then you can tell me your doubts in the comment section. I will try to clear those doubts. So I think I have made this topic crystal clear to you all. Even if you haven't subscribed my channel yet, then please click the subscribe button. And if you think my videos are informative and helpful, then please like my videos. And I will be back with a new video very soon. Till then, stay tuned to my channel. And thank you for watching the video.